So do I have, I'd love to hear from three of us on what was discovered. Does anybody have a discovery they'd like to bring in? Pat, I'm drawn right to you. Sorry, but did you encounter something? There's something you can share?
I
And
think our
thank you very much. Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant
you,
Pat
Pat.
Moore. I'm so sorry.
Oh, and I thought you meant me.
We have
Okay.
two Pats with us today, and I was
Right.
drawn to Pat Moore, so please forgive
Okay,
me.
good. That's all right.
I think our group really came to a point that we realized that when we realize that we do not have a choice, we do not have freedom, and that knowing we have the power to choose means that we are a free spirit.
Oh, wow. That's a goodie. Thank you for that. Thank you. Would anybody else like to share from their group anything that they heard? And uh, I'll call on you, you know. Yes, Samantha, goody.
To dovetail on everything that's been said, I think that we really spoke of the right of choice and the direction the choices take us, and also realization, the
Mm,
freedom to realize our oneness and our divinity.
mm,
Mm, Thank
nice.
you.
Thank you. Are you complete? Okay, thank you. I'd love to hear from one more person. Is one more person? Thank you, Jan. Got it.
Good morning. We talked about how sometimes it can be overwhelming to recognize that we do have free choice, and that means we can do anything. And can become overwhelming and hard to make a choice, so hard to know where to go with all of the wide open opportunities.
Thank you. A very good point. It can be overwhelming. And we talked a little bit about that in our group about the dance, the movement between what happens when we're in deep meditation and we remember that eternal unlimitedness that we are. And then we shift our awareness and are looking at a third dimensional plane. And that so it seems to be we're constantly being informed by the remembrance of our divinity, constantly, and that it's a process. Yeah, it's a process. So very cool. Thank you, beautiful, beloved community. Um, we're about to have the absolute word read for us today, and our darling Samantha, she's going to read it. So let's give Samantha our love and light. Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you. Today is Sunday, April 3rd, 2022. It's a beautiful day, and the absolute word is inner peace. I am peace. I think peace. I feel peace. Peace is an immutable principle within me where all appearance of separation dissolves. The principle of peace is an aspect of my divinity. I carry it with me through every experience during every moment of the day. I use it to manifest the experience of peace, oneness, harmony, and bliss. Nothing can destroy or even disturb my peace when I am focused on my divinity. I use it, capital I use it to guide my way. A passing thought of fear, worry, or anger reminds me to breathe, release, release the negative energy, and remember the principle of peace. In this way, I embrace and be peace. I feel peace when I meditate, enjoy a walk in a peaceful garden, or deeply appreciate the beauty of nature wherever I find it. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. You read that beautifully. I'd like for everybody to now take yourself off of mute altogether because we're going to chant together. We're going to do a beautiful Om, and it doesn't matter if we're in sync with each other, it doesn't matter how it sounds. It just matters that we know that we're chanting Om together. And so bring your heart to it. And we're going to feel how long we chant for. We're going to feel it, and we're going to feel when it's proper for us to end that together. I will lead us, and I'm asking all of you to come into it with me. Find that beautiful soft space within you, that beautiful inner pathway, leading that gateway to the universe that you are. This is the opening of your heart. And from this very opening, we say and sing, Can you not hear me? Now you can. Okay. We are complete. I'm going to ask everybody to put yourselves back on mute. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Russell has a beautiful reading for us, and I'm going to ask him to bring that forward. As he does, I'm going to ask everybody to give Russell your love and your light.
Good morning, Unity. Our reading today is from Michael Beckwith's 40-Day Mind Fast Soul Feast. Often, when people materialize things, they don't feel any closer to their God self than before the objects of desire appeared in their lives. Why? Because this is materialization, not manifestation. It's subtle, so don't allow yourself to be confused. What you consistently dwell upon ultimately condenses into form as your experience. Consciously or unconsciously, everyone can and does materialize. In contrast, manifestation places you in a league with the spiritual pattern of who and what you are as a spiritual being. Manifestation is accomplished through a realization of oneness with God. It brings in its wake the recognition that God is the desire beyond all desiring. Conscious union with the Spirit bestows the manifestation of all needs met. Spirit so loves to manifest that it places its own light at the center of your being. At your core, beyond the limiting thoughts, forms you have bought into, there is a divine blueprint, a spiritual integrity factor. Today, dare to come out of the materialization mode and enter into the manifestation consciousness that is your birthright. In this state of consciousness awareness, you will live each moment as an embodiment of the words of Jesus when he said, "Strive first for the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be given to you as well. Then the birds will carry food to your doorstep." And so it is.
And so it is. Russell, thank you so much for voicing that It's beautiful. I chose it because our next three speakers, pardon me, are bringing in something so valuable to us. Our next three speakers have been meditating upon these beautiful passages from Michael Beckwith's book. They've been taking the Lenten journey seriously, and they have been discovering how deep their deep is. And so I've called their share all together, How Deep is Our Deep? Or How Deep is My Deep? And each speaker is going to bring us something incredibly valuable, I should say. And it is that deep, deep journey through their specific lens. You're about to be richly, richly blessed. I'm going to invite Lisa forward as our first speaker. As she comes forward, do give her your love and your light. Thank you, Lisa.
Good morning, all. I first have to share that one way to overcome a fear is to have a bigger one present itself. And as I saw my internet become unstable this morning, I ran around plugging in alternate devices. But when I came to sit back down, there was a ladybug next to my computer. So I said, all is well. And another thing is, I referenced the song, Thank You for This Day, Spirit, in my talk. So of course, that was our greeting song today. So I will begin. How deep is my deep? How deep is my fear in speaking in front of people, no matter how close I am to them? I was struggling with what to talk about for days and days, even up until this morning. How do I present? And then I reread the title of the book, 40-Day Mind Fast. Mind fast. That's what I need, but I know it's not easy. Hey, physical fast, been there, done that. I did a 14-day detox once that scheduled 3 days of nothing but water and then more water with a little bit of lemon and maple syrup added to it. The actual hardest part was picking a day to start because there's no 2-week period that doesn't have some sort of celebration within it. So there I was on day 3 at my niece and nephew's graduation party, complete with New Haven style pizza truck. And I perfectly abstained from it all, telling myself that I wasn't there for the food. I was there to spend time with friends and family. I did it perfectly. And I was very proud of myself. It was very gratifying. But mind fast? Nobody knows the horrible way my mind likes to interject into every part of my life, quite like my sisters. Telling them the ghastly things my mind actually says makes them gasp, which is why I don't share it with other people. That's how bad they are. But I will give you one lovely example from just this past week. A dear friend had been helping out his sister-in-law who was dying of brain cancer. He went over his brother's house twice a week for months and months to cook and give the family of 5 a break. When she passed away the other week, they asked him to do the eulogy, which he was a little bit nervous about. So I decided I would take the morning off from work and attend the funeral and support. While there, alone with this marvelous mind of mine, I thought, what if this is weird? I've never even met the woman. What if he and his husband look at me and wonder, what is she doing here? I was mortified that I even had this thought. But of course I was wrong. He came up and thanked me with a big hug and said how much it meant to him. I think this is a perfect example of the lesson in day 13 in the book. And I quote, "The truth is that you are here to learn how to handle love, joy, creativity, and success. You want to develop an inner structure that supports an affirmative response to life that allows you to make yourself receptive to the infinite arenas of success around you. You accomplish this by conducting an ongoing, redefining session with yourself so that moment by moment, you catch God's definition of who and what you are. This takes courage because it may mean listening to mediocre minds asking, who does she think she is? Never mind, say to yourself, this does not move me. Keep your attention focused on the pole star of God's infinite love, which cheers you on as you move forward to embrace and embody your spiritual success story." End quote. So how do I make this presentation a success? I was thinking of the struggle to write this. I started out by looking up the definition of deep and the meaning of Lent, a very typical way of starting for me, but more suited to the printed word. It did, however, make me think about how special Lent has become, especially since joining Unity. And I first heard Reverend Rob sing the haunting song, "Were You There?" Gets me every time. Funny thing, my mind doesn't have any bad comments to say about Lent, which makes me realize how really good it is. Okay, I like Lent, so now what? My mind asks. You're speaking in front of some of the most important people in your life. So I read and I reread the book. I took notes. I started and stopped. I tossed and turned. And then finally, I turned to the soul feast part of the title. Identifying that link to my source has been something I've quietly struggled with. How do I address my divine? What is my divine's name? Nothing has ever felt quite right, and I name everything. I knew dear God wasn't right. Dear divine, nope. I even tried to use other objects that I liked. Dear book, dear tree, dear rain, nothing. Then one day in a class I was taking called Free Your Voice, it just came drifting in while we were doing some deep soul writing. Pearl. Her name is Pearl. I haven't told many people that yet either, but fear aside, I am telling you today. So I talked to her the other morning and the creativity started to flow a little bit. Maybe if I just pretended I'm in a little breakout room, I wouldn't be so nervous. So I started writing from that perspective, even told some friends about the approach and they all liked it. But as I wrote some more, it still wasn't feeling quite right. So when I woke up this morning with the song, "Thank You for This Day, Spirit, Thank You for This Day," I knew Pearl and I were in cahoots. So I went to my sanctuary, AKA the shower, where my creativity started flowing like the water. Well, the thoughts were just so much more, shall I say, helpful. Like the time I wasn't afraid being on stage in junior high school. And then I remember a neuroscientist talking about success, that it's not in reaching the goal, it's the tenacity to stay on the journey. And it is in the remembering of the journey that can carry you through future endeavors. So now, miracle of miracles, my lovely little mind is finally excited to get downstairs and type away. So I did. So I do. I did. I am. I am here to tell you what glorious fun it is, and has always been, to tap into my creativity once I do what the book has reminded me of and take a mind fast. Who do I think I am? I am divine and I am human. I accept all parts of me, even those that are afraid to speak up and show up. I love that my soul feast is a constant banquet of every single thing I choose can be a source of nourishment for my soul. I just have to fast from mind chatter that I know is not true and lean into my new pearls of wisdom. Pearl is there. You are here. I am.
Lisa, thank you. Thank you for the beautiful pearl you are. Thank you very, very much. You have blessed us with your pearl, your very pearlness. Thank you so much. And so now our dear April is going to share from her heart. And as she does so, let's bring her our love and our light. Thank you, April.
Thank you. Okay. So when I was a child, Lent for me was when the priest put dirt on my head. I couldn't eat anything on Fridays. I had to think about all the bad things I'd done. I had to ask forgiveness for them, and I had to give something up that I really liked. But it was only temporary, and my reward was candy. Over the years, the meaning changed as I grew to better understand the significance of my Catholic upbringing. But to be completely honest, it wasn't until the last several years that Lent started taking on a dramatically different understanding. I no longer look at this season as a time to remember and honor something someone else did for me. I'm now looking at it as a time of introspection and spiritual growth. The first Good Friday service I attended here at Unity in the Foothills was a service in which there was complete silence, except for Reverend Worm singing, "Were You There?" Leaving that service, I felt an inner shift. I got into my car, I drove away, I got to the first traffic light, and pow, I just started sobbing. I thought, what the heck just happened? Where did that come from? I don't cry. That was the start. Every year since, the Lenten season, which represents Jesus's 40 days in the desert, where he fasted and was tempted 3 times by the devil, which we know as a state of consciousness, not of divine mind, brings me into my own personal wilderness. For me, it's a time of looking at my own thoughts that aren't of divine mind, thoughts that tempt me into thinking I'm not enough, and attempt to lead me astray and away from the Christ that I am. Jesus, our way shower, showed us how to overcome it by going within, by denying the control of those thoughts and ideas, by fasting on them and anything other than our divine truth. Reading Michael Beckwith's book, there were 2 stories that stood out for me. The first was titled, "Claiming My Divine Dominion." It was about David stepping into his power, claiming his divine dominion, and by doing so, he faced the giant and he slayed him. The second was titled, "An Inside Job," which is about the realization of our oneness. Now, I wasn't going to use the David and Goliath story, but something recently happened in my life, which brought forward a giant for me and brought me back into the desert to face the temptations of my own unripe thoughts. I watched a body cam video in which the police are called to a home for a wellness check. It's for Brian, who's threatening to kill himself. The officers arrive. One officer goes in to find Brian, approaching cautiously and announcing himself. As he gets closer, I can hear Brian crying and sobbing, the pain coming from him. Oh. The officers attempt to talk to him from a distance. Brian has a weapon. He gets up and he starts charging at the officer, saying, "Kill me!" The officer backs up with his pistol drawn, backing away all the way from this charging person. The officer tells Brian, "Stop, stop, or I'm going to shoot." And then shoot, he does. And Brian is shot and laying on the floor. All of this witnessed by his parents. Now you might wonder, what does this have to do with me? Well, I've felt pain like that, to the point where death by suicide seemed like the only answer. I know what it feels like to feel so disconnected from my divinity and the Christ within. The video brought back memories that had me thinking, oh my gosh, his parents. Not only does their son want to kill himself, but he was just shot right in front of them. I couldn't help but try to put myself in my parents' position when I was suicidal. The pain, the confusion, the feelings of helplessness, the love. I thought, oh my gosh, April, how could you have done that? Then my thoughts went to the officer who didn't want to shoot. I could hear his heartfelt plea, his fear of not wanting to shoot, and then realizing he had to. I can't help but wonder what they all must be going through. Brian was shot twice. He didn't die. He's in the hospital. He's my cousin. What feelings is he feeling, if any? So you see, the situation brought me back to the desert where I faced my own thoughts that aren't of divine mind. However, this time, like Jesus, our way shower, I went within into the realization of the oneness I am. I didn't try to deny or avoid any of it. I embraced it as a part of who I am as my wholeness. I remembered what Jesus said in John 10, I and the Father are one. And then in 1 John 4:4, it says, there is nothing that is on the outside that is greater than who you are on the inside. When I remembered this, I started fasting and abstaining from the control that those thoughts, feelings, and ideas held on me. I did the inside job Michael's meditation talked of, and by doing so, I'm claiming my divine dominion. Just as Jesus left the desert to begin his ministry, this season, I leave the desert ready to begin mine. I started this share talking about how, as a child, the reward for Lent was that temporary sweetness of that delicious piece of candy. I end by saying Lent's reward for me now is even sweeter, and it's permanent. It's the sweetness of spiritual growth. It's also the realization that Lent is not a seasonal journey. It's not just a journey about Jesus. It's about my journey and Brian's journey and your journey and our journey of wholeness as oneness, for which I say thank you, thank you, thank you, and namaste.
Oh, April, what a beautiful share. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for your journey. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Just beautiful. Thank you. And now we are so blessed to have our dear Samantha bring in her heartfelt share. Please give our dear Samantha your love and your light.
Wow. I want to thank April and Lisa for sharing so deeply from their heart. And when I was asked to go deep and share in regards to the Lenten journey, I felt truly honored. As I was growing up, I had no idea what Lent was. I really did not until I came to Unity. So I don't know of the alternative practices and rituals. What I do know is how this past Lenten journey with Michael Beckwith's Mind Fast and Soul Feast has played out every single day in my life for the past 30, I believe 31. I sat down and I wrote what I was going to speak about going deep. And as I was processing through, experiencing the service, I kept hearing Spirit say, go to your heart, Samantha, go to your heart. So I'm putting that typed share aside, and I'm going deep into my heart. I feel safe here in this community. This is my Unity community. We have beautiful, beautiful support. So I'm going deep. Here we go. I did pick a day that I wanted to focus on. And it really is perfect in the expression of the divine flow of life. The beginning of Lent, I was presented with a disturbing phone call, heartbreaking, literally. One of my best friends who near and dear to me suffered heart failure. Instantly I had coffee with her on Friday morning. And by the following Tuesday, she was flown to Hartford on life support and was not expected to live. Her heart literally dissected, the aorta dissected, was devastated. Absolutely devastated to feel that. But I had my faith and I had the knowing that everything was happening in perfect divine order. Everything was happening. I had to accept it. Fast forward until Saturday, March 19th. I did what I had done every single day when starting this Lenten journey. I woke up. I felt great. I was excited for the weekend. I had accomplished some things in my business that I was to be celebrated for the following day, the 20th of March. I had my water, my coffee, my prayer. With my coffee, I have my Lenten book. I sat down, I read it as I do every day, took a picture, sent it to my friend because I have to share it. I was so excited to start the day. Now, I want to tell you on that day, Saturday, March 19th, it was very, very dreary. It was dreary. But I felt like I could feel, I claimed that divine light that we all are. I was beaming. I was so excited for the day. I had transportation. I had plans. It was just, I was rocking it. My vibe was high. And Michael Beckwith speaks of that. He says, be aware that people around you respond to your energy, right? everything around me was feeling in accordance to that high vibe that I was putting out, right? I was releasing that on that day. So I hop in the car. It's dreary, it's foggy. I drive over to Staples in Avon to meet a friend of mine, a mentor teacher friend. She was going to give me the gift that I had earned. I, in turn, was going to take this gift and bring it to my friend Lori, who was at the hospital. In the parking lot of Staples, I was again on fire. Linda was there. She bought a friend. We shared our recovery stories. Everything was going great. It was feeling great. And suddenly my phone started vibrating in my pocket. And I looked and it said, Mom. And I hit dismiss. And then it said, Mom again. It was vibrating. And I hit dismiss, Mom. I'm meeting you for lunch. It's okay. I'll get back to, dismiss, dismiss, dismiss. Well, Linda left. And I got back into the Jeep. And I said, I'm going to call my mom. What is up? And I called her. And in that instant, my entire family's life changed. My 22-year-old beautiful nephew, athletic, Kyle Andrew, had suffered a heart attack on his way to work. And Spirit had him. This is the energy. I feel it's the energy that just carried him right to the doorstep. This has happened right on the on-ramp of 84. It carried him right to UConn's emergency room. Before we even knew it, in the process of just chaos on the phone and this falling apart I was feeling, he was already rushed in for an ablation surgery. But I fell apart in that Jeep. And I remembered what I read that day. I remember what I read, and I'll read it to you. There are no loopholes in spiritual law. Where you put your attention, there is power. And I knew in that moment that my mother on the other end of that phone, she needed my energy to be in alignment with my divinity. She needed my energy to be one of grounding and of love. And I was sitting there, I didn't know how I was going to drive home, right? I'm in Avon, it's foggy, it's raining. And I'm thinking, how am I ever going to get to my mother, who I was worried about her breaking down, and then get her to UConn so we could be with my sister and her baby. I sat in the parking lot as much as I wanted to get in that car and just drive. Spirit told me, and I remembered this, it is my energy that the traffic is going to feel. It is my energy that everybody I encounter from Avon to Torrington before I could get to my mother was going to be affected by my energy. I had the power within me. I had the freedom that we spoke of this morning. I had the freedom to make a choice. And that choice was to commune with Spirit, to come together. And I sat for about 5 minutes in the parking lot at Staples and Avon, crying and communing and just feeling the presence of the angels and guides and my community. My next thought was the prayer chain. The prayer chain. I had called them up and all their love with my friend Lori. I needed to do that for my beautiful nephew Kyle. I did. I felt my energy shifting, almost a downshift like I felt in that Jeep on my way home, right? The fog that was there seemed to lift as I was going down 202. By the time I got to my mother, I was grounded, I was ready, and I was able to get her into the car, to drive her calmly to the hospital, where I could later then be that grounding energy for my sister, whose baby was laying up in critical care. We had no idea if he was going to make it or not, right? The old me, before I had and knew about this freedom of choice and how our vibration, our mental vibration, our physical vibration affects our macrocosm. Before I knew this, I probably would have fallen apart, grabbed a bottle of whiskey, smoked a joint, and been a mess by the time I got to my mother's. But I know better and I do better. I had the freedom to choose better then, and I had the freedom to choose that day. And I did. I chose to follow the spiritual law that Michael speaks about all throughout this book. There are no loopholes. There are no loopholes. We can't fool spiritual law. It was one of the hardest days. Actually, it was one of the hardest Lenten journeys in the past 10 years with Unity that I've taken. Each day has presented new issues, new circumstances that seem on the surface unsurmountable. But I know by applying and employing the spiritual laws that we're taught in Unity, when I embrace the divinity within me, when I reach out to the community, then I can shift the vibration within, and that is going to radiate outward. And I know for this I was kept. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha, for a beautiful, heartfelt share. Thank you for putting your paper down and speaking from your heart. Thank you so much. What an amazing journey. Yeah, one more thing.
I have to say that both Lori is recovering very, very well. She has a long journey. She pulled through. And Kyle, he has a road to hoe also, but he's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I want to thank every single person here on that helped my entire family walk this journey. Yeah, thank you. I had to say that. They're doing good.
Thank you, Samantha. We're so happy to hear it. We're just going to take a minute to close our eyes and let everything that we have heard wash over us with the question that we now ask ourselves: how deep is my deep? And we take this into the silence. And yet, we do not know with our brain how deep our deep is, or how long our long is, what the height of our height is, or what our width is. We do not know this with our brain, but our mind comprehends that we are, in fact, unlimited, infinite beings. We always have been, we always will be. And every single moment is an opportunity to deepen, to lengthen, to grow taller and wider in our awareness. And we're so grateful for it. And we say thank you, thank you, thank you. And amen. And as we consider how we will be giving back, not only to this community, but to the world, let's give back that willingness that Lisa and April and Samantha just demonstrated. That willingness to be the open-hearted Christ, walking through every event as an opportunity to see love where love appears not to be, and light where darkness seems to be. Let's give that gift. And then we take our time, our talent, our treasure, and we hold it right up to our heart chakra. And saying along with me, we say, divine love flowing as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I'd love to do what Joe suggested we do last week. Let's take ourselves off mute. Let's sing our peace song without any accompaniment. Let's hear what it sounds like when we do it that way. And then we'll say our prayer for protection the same way. So are you ready? It's a glorious adventure. We get to hear each other. I'll start us off nice and low. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that surpasses peace, with God as Creator, guiding all our being. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let there be home now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment with me in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Absolutely gorgeous. Are you ready to say our prayer for protection right out loud? The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well.